Hello and welcome to the F1 Time Portal, a Formula One history podcast by a couple of friends that are infatuated with Formula One. I'm your host, Rosa.
And I'm your General Motors host, Luigi. And today we are rating drivers from 1965 for our special series, the TimePortal Championship. So let's go.
Hello, Luigi.
Hi, Rosa.
And hello, Nacho. We have Nacho back.
Hey, everybody. So happy to be back again.
Great to have you back.
And we welcome Nacho back from a European holiday where he was in Europe while 2024 European races were going and he didn't go to any.
Nacho!
The funny thing, we were driving from the Basque Country in France to, not Barcelona, to the Costa Brava, which is a bit north of Barcelona. Mm-hmm. But while we were on the highway, after the Spanish Grand Prix, we could see all the F1 trucks traveling on the other side of the highway. So I felt like I was there, you know.
Were all the teams driving together like a convoy, or was it more like 3 Ferrari trucks and then later in the day you saw 2 McLaren trucks? How was it?
No, mostly I saw like F1 trucks.
Okay.
F1 trucks. So and then saw some team trucks, but yeah, like it was kind of spread out.
So they were maybe steward trucks and stuff, like FIA stuff.
Who knows?
You know, I had
maybe merch.
Oh yeah, not so exciting, but yeah, okay. Because I had the thought that you could put on your rent-a-car in Europe a special LED thing on top of your car, like a screen for the trucks to see the other direction, and you can say no more, punish Max more, or 10-second penalty is not enough, so you can talk to the stewards, but it's really just a truck driver.
Yeah.
Barcelona, Max didn't do anything in Barcelona.
Did he behave?
No, he behaved.
I don't know if he behaved.
He was,
I guess it sort of happened while you were there, Nacho. So that we're talking about the 2024 Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, Austrian.
We're not meant to talk about current. We'll
no, let's
about
not.
2024 Austria in about 5 years' time.
Let's go back to 1965 and tell me what happened with General Motors, seeing as you are our General Motors host.
Yes. So General Motors is a team that hasn't had much to do with Formula One, but they should. I don't know why, because Ford was heavily into Formula One. That's a big US company. But General Motors, to my surprise, in 1965 was America's largest corporation. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And they've never had anything to do with...
Not that I know of.
Formula One. Was that the one that Andretti was going to use General Motors? Was that his...
Was that Cadillac? They were using Cadillac as a brand, weren't they? Yeah, you're right. But I heard that, but then I also heard that they were going in with Renault engines. So maybe they're going with Renault branded Cadillac engines.
Well, there's still time. Well, I don't know. The FIA will never let anyone else into the paddock ever again. So maybe they can't ever get in.
Yeah, because apparently Andretti name's not big enough.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. So we're here for the 1965 championship, so we get into it.
Yeah, we're coming off a very controversial year, Luigi, 1964, John Surtees.
Yes, but this is don't forget, listeners are hearing this after the 65 race review, so that's old now.
I know.
We're doing the TP championship, remember? So for those that are new to it or need a quick refresher, these are very fast race reviews, but we spend most of our time talking about our votes of the top 3 and why we think the top 3. And as a reminder, we do them all individually. We don't see each other's results.
Right.
So especially Nacho and Rosa collects them, so she sees them, but it's more administratively.
Yep.
Nacho and I don't even see each other's results, and we don't see Rosa's till now.
Yep.
So you're hearing our raw reaction and our raw mockings and corrections. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? So race 1, South African Grand Prix. So 1963 champion Clark in the Lotus was on pole position ahead of 64 champ John Surtees in the Ferrari and the 59 and 60 champion Brabham in the Brabham. So a pretty champion-studded first 3. Yeah. After the start, Clark led away with his teammate Spence up to second. There were not many changes in positions that happened after that until Brabham's engine started misfiring, leaking oil, and it must have been happening in front of Spence because it sent Spence into a spin. Clark won by 30 seconds and he even had time to complete an extra lap after the checkered flag was accidentally waved 1 lap too early. You got to love the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Surtees came second, Hill third, and Spence and Brabham finished 4th and 8th. Just we're mentioning them because they were players at the start, respectively, 4th and 8th. And Stewart in the BRM in his debut race finished 6th and earned a point on his debut. So we throw to Nacho first. Is that right?
Yes.
And Nacho, you tell us your top 3 starting with third and why.
Okay, my third is Surtees. Sorry.
Yes.
He got second place. No real challenges. Yeah. I think he doesn't get my second place because I will give it to Stewart. I mean, getting points on debut, I think that's a special thing. So I gave my number 2 to him. And number 1, it has to go to Clark. He could have done a max where he pitted, changed tires, and gone for the fastest lap. I'm not sure that was a thing back then, but I like to think so.
It wasn't, but you're right. It's an ego thing, maybe.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, he did an extra lap, which is almost the same.
Yeah. It's such a funny thing for that to happen too. So, so those are good picks, actually. Now, I'm glad you put Stewart in second because I put Stewart in third. And I always regret, and I regret it because Stewart's one of my Formula One heroes. Yeah. And this is his debut, and I gave him third. And Nacho, who didn't even know how to say Surtees properly, put Stewart in second. So I put Stewart in third, getting points on debut. And I wrote a little extra comment. Everyone get used to this. We're going to see Stewart's name a lot. Mm-hmm. I love Stewart. He was my favorite driver. So I had Surtees in second, pressing Spence into a spin. So he obviously pressured Spence as well. I don't know if Spence spun twice, whether he spun on Brabham's oil and then he spun because Surtees put him under pressure. But just a solid drive for second. And I gave Clark the win. He dominated from start to finish, and even with the funny flag ending. And I gave a little negative point, not that it counts in anything, for the flag waiver. How could he have waved 1 lap too soon? I mean, it's a silly error, you know? Yeah, so that's my top 3.
Well,
I mean, to be honest, I would have done the same if I were the flag thing.
Is it what the race is boring, you mean? Time to go home.
It's boring. You're stressed. Like, what am I supposed to do this? Why aren't they putting me out here? You know, like, I mean, if they're putting you there, it's because you have to wave the flag, right?
Yeah.
You'd be watching the race. You'd be watching the race.
I'm sure they didn't have a screen there saying
they
who
wouldn't.
was going first.
No screens. Yeah.
No.
It's basically, and because there were no computers, they had computers in those days, but not at racetracks. They were like, house-sized computers with the Defence Force or something. But, it was basically someone with a clipboard,
yes.
I'm
imagining.
Or an abacus.
Yes.
With little tires instead of beads.
One lap
to go. Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, Rosa, your top 3.
I can't really poke any fun at yours, Luigi, because mine are exactly the same. And I'm also regretting a little bit putting Stewart in my third spot as well. But yeah, great debut from him. Surtees was a good drive, and he really had no challenges. And I think this is the most used word when we're talking about Clark. Just dominant. Dominant. We always use that word for him. So so after the first race, we've got Clark in the lead on 24, followed by Surtees on 16 and Stewart on 14.
Just 3 drivers. We were all the
3
same
drivers.
Just a slightly different mixture.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're up to the Monaco Grand Prix, race 2 of the season. The organisers guaranteed 1 place on the grid for each factory team, and we talk about that a lot in the podcast, the race review one, how funny that is, because they normally allow, like, the number 1 driver gets a spot, and then the drivers know exactly whether they're 1 or 2, right? Which is very funny. So the rest of the applicants had to qualify. In disagreement, Lotus decided to withdraw from the event and instead enter the Indianapolis 500 1 day later. And this was actually a good choice because Clark went on to win the Indy 500. And I think we talked about this in the podcast. The money they earn for winning the Indy 500 is like more than the money they earn all year in the F1 Championship. Back in those days,
Mm.
I think it was like 120,000 or something like that.
Yes.
And we worked out how much that was for a year for a team, and
Yeah,
it was like,
huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not this race though. So Hill BRM started in pole position ahead of Brabham and Hill's teammate Stewart. At the race, Brabham fell back and the two BRMs led away. Hill lost a lot of time when he had to avoid a back marker, so he went up an escape road and had to push his car back onto the track. And I think you can actually see that on YouTube if you Google it. It's really cool to see him. It's like literally, it's funny to see. You see how low and small these cars are because his body's towering over the car and he's pushing it. On lap 30, so Stewart took the lead. So this is like his second F1 race. Stewart basically spun coming out of one of the fastest corners of the track, and Brabham's climax engine seized. And as a result of all this, Hill basically went back into the lead. I think Stewart even waved him through because Stewart was his second race. He probably was like not quite up to speed, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So Hill made it to the back into the lead ahead of the Ferraris of Bandini and Surtees. Richard Atwood crashed in the hairpin. The leaders narrowly avoided him before Paul Hawkins crashed into the harbour and his car sank into the bottom of the harbour. He was unhurt, as was Atwood, because they had their collision. And this was the second time a driver went into the water at Monaco like Ascari. So this was just an interesting mention. Hill took the win by over a minute ahead of Bandini, and Stewart came third. A bit of a detailed, quick race review. That
was a detailed, quick. A lot of other things happening in there.
Yeah. So Nacho, who's your top three? Oh, I see your top three. Controversy, but go on.
Controversy. Yeah. I'm going to leave my best to last, I guess.
Yeah.
Number 3, I gave it to Hill. He won the race, of course, because other people made mistakes and other cars kind of broke down. But you have to put yourself there to be able to take that win when other people. And it's so funny because not only in the last race that just happened, right? Like with Russell winning because of Max and Lando kind of crashing together. I wonder if the reaction was the same, where like kind of nobody cared that Russell won. Like,
Russell seemed pretty happy.
Yeah,
I know, but
no one else. Everyone else was like really underwhelmed. Yeah, so I wonder.
Nobody talked about it.
Yeah,
they were talking about Max and Lando, and I wonder if that was the same with Hill.
Yes.
Hopefully not. Hopefully everybody cheered.
I don't think. I mean, you've put Hill third. I think you're being tough on Hill because I do think Hill won this race. I don't think he was inheriting it because he got pole position. He had an issue with the back marker, and he charged his way back up again. I think you've been too tough.
I know, but he did make a mistake, right, with that back marker. And I'm giving my second place to Barham, which is actually, he hadn't made a mistake. He was winning, and then his engine broke down. Like, if Barham was still there, he wouldn't have won. So that was my kind of reasoning for putting Hill number 3. And, of course, my number 1 would have gone to Clark, but actually I'm going to give it to Indy 500 because they actually got the best team to run for them.
Yeah.
Lotus made more money than whatever they would make in F1. I just think I love this when Formula One teams like just go against what the F1 committee wants to go, like, because that rule was a bit ridiculous. Like, just because you're a top team or a regular team, you always get the spot on the grid. I don't know. Like, it wasn't working that way at the time. So,
okay,
Indy 500 for me.
It's a big call. The Indy 500 is first.
I was going to say, Luigi's going to have a problem with that one.
Oh, look, it's because Clark won it. That's why it's okay to be there.
Okay. Right.
And the funny thing is, this is not a spoiler because people that are listening to this have probably listened to the race review. But Clark, he wins the next 5 races in a row, but he misses. He doesn't even attend this race. And he didn't have a great record at this track. I don't know if he actually ever won it, but if he probably could have, and it would have been like 7 wins in a row. which is pretty special for a 10-race season. So anyway, side comment. My top three,
Yep.
I had Stewart third. He came third, and he waved Hill through. So there's an element of he could have done better than that, but he did actually at least come third. So just a good result. Brabham for second. I do think he had this in the bag until the bolt caused an issue, but I still didn't put him ahead of Hill because I thought in my mind, Hill won this race twice. So he did a good comeback drive. And let's not forget, this is the second race of 1965. And there is some trauma with what happened at the end of 64 when Hill was taken out by another driver.
Only for you. Only for you, Luigi.
So he's probably still a bit scared of other cars on the track, because he doesn't know.
He is a professional racing car driver. He's not going to be scared of other drivers on the track.
Anyway, if anything, that should be less points for him, right? Like if you're an F1 driver, you need to go for it,
Exactly. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway,
I challenge your picks.
Yeah,
I challenge.
Well, I don't challenge your picks. I challenge the reason for your picks. But
your challenge is duly noted in my I don't know where I'm putting it.
You're taking it on board. You're filing it. You're filing it.
I'm filing it. I'll file it. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to know, how would you have done the wave? You're saying that he gets less points for that.
Oh, because Stuart waved him through.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you have done in that position, Luigi?
Oh, you accept it, of course. It's your teammate, and it's his second race of his career. He's probably not used to being at the front of a race,
And he he just spun because he didn't spin.
He spun.
He may have had some damage, or he may have, I don't know, had to recover the car a bit. I don't know, and he didn't want to hold up his teammate. And you got to remember, this is his debut, and he was like a champion by this stage.
Yeah,
he's not going to hold up his champion number one driver teammate.
Yeah, Hill would won 62 and should have 64 sort of thing.
Yeah, should have 64.
Tell that to Ocon and Gasly.
And I'm looking at your picks, Rosa, and I see a name there already.
Yes, I know. I know.
I'm just going to see where he finished.
I don't know. I think F1 drivers back then were a bit more soft. If Ocon and Gasly were in that position, I'm sure he was not gonna wave. He was probably going to give the
I think there was a lot more deference. I'm not going to use the word respect, but there was a lot more deference from like drivers to like other drivers, depending on their experience and what they'd achieved up to date. Like you look at Ocon and Alonso relationship.
Oh yeah,
like Ocon didn't care that Alonso was like a 2-time world champion, had raced, how many races? I don't know, heaps of races. Ocon just went him. Whereas back in this day, there was a lot of deference and respect given to the drivers that were big names up until a point. Like not always, but up until this is Stewart's first race. First season, second race. Like he's not going to just take it to Hill.
Yeah.
He's not going to do a Bandini and just take him out.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to your picks, Rosa, because I can see a controversial
I know.
pick.
I've given you time to research too, haven't I?
But I can't find any holes in it really.
Okay. Well, I've given my third spot to Bandini, mainly just to irk Luigi. But look, he did come in second. Again, like you said, Nacho, especially in this era, you kind of have to be up there to take a podium. And he was up there. He got into second spot. So good on him. And it has the additional just perk of just irking Louis. So I like that.
Yes. Yeah. And unfortunately, I can't argue with it because he did come second in the race. Yes. It's like I can't say anything, Yeah.
I've given Surtees second. I think he should have come second in this race. What happened to him, Louis? He
must have retired right at the end.
Must have retired.
No, he finishes fourth. He's one lap behind.
Oh, that's right.
And not finishing at end. So something must have happened right near the end for him.
Yeah, so I think he should have won this one. He should have come second, sorry. But I've given it to Hill. I agree. Persistence just won the day for him. Like having to get out of the escape road by like he did that to avoid a back marker, which is unusual for Hill because he's usually really good for around back markers. But this is Monaco, so
Yeah.
And then having to get out of the car and push his car back onto the track without getting a penalty was just pretty good. So Hill gets my first place.
And this was Hill's third Monaco win in a row.
Yeah, so this is
Surtees ran out of fuel. That's why.
Oh, there you go.
He was fluttering over. And because Bandini and Stewart went on to complete the full race, so on the last lap, he crossed the line and ran out of fuel.
Okay.
And they went on to finish the lap and therefore finished ahead of him. So you're right. He should have come second.
He should have come second, yeah. And so this is right in the middle of Hill's Mr. Monaco era.
Yeah.
All right. So after 2 races, Hill is on 20 points, Brabham is on 12, and the Indy 500 is on 8 points. How does that work? Oh,
Wait, no, you've got to. Oh no, you're doing the total. No, you haven't done the cumulative. Yeah,
cumulative. I was going to say, wow, that's sorry, my bad. Yeah, Clark is in the lead on 24, Surtees is on 22, and Hill is on 20.
So we're up to the race 3, the Belgian Grand Prix. So we've gone from a maybe overly long race review to a maybe overly short race review. And Rosa wrote these race reviews, so thank you, Rosa. I tried to add more to it, but even I couldn't add much more to it because the race. And can I say the actual Belgian Grand Prix summary in the Mike Lang book is also short. So really, it's
Yep.
So basically, Hill started on pole again, ahead of Clark and Stewart. Rain fell and everyone held a safe distance from the car in front except Clark, who basically took the lead and basically pulled out a big lead and lapped even Hill. Clark led every lap. The race was considered to be one of Clark's most dominant victories. Stewart ended up finishing second ahead of Bruce McLaren in third and Brabham fourth and Hill fifth. So it was just a dominance show by Stewart, Clark, and he was leading by over 1 minute 20 or thereabouts.
Wow.
And he just backed off towards the end to win by like a lazy 45 seconds or thereabouts.
So nice of him to take the win under a minute.
So over to you, Nacho.
I can see you have quite a bias for Stewart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Stewart third just to make you angry like Rosa does, which I totally approve.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a quite boring race, so I'm going to try to spice it up that way.
Good on you,
if
Nacho.
not, it would be like 1, 2, 3. No, I'm going to put Stewart third.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, he did get second. That's fine. And I don't put him second because I do put Bruce as my second. Because he managed to get that podium by beating Hill, who was on pole. And Bruce wasn't such on the level of the other kind of drivers out there. So for me, he gets that extra notch for that second place. And then first place, Clark. I mean, not only he was dominant, but he also took the race into his own hand when everybody was trying to play it safe.
Yeah.
So I respect that.
I think he took the lead in the most dangerous corner as well. Like he took the biggest risk to get that lead as well.
That was impressive.
Mm.
And it's interesting you made the comment about McLaren not quite on the level of the other drivers. I agree, but did you gather that just from this race or just overall?
No, I think I was talking about this specific race, but I mean, overall, it's mostly Lotus and was it BRM?
Yeah,
that are kind of always on the top, finishing positions.
But
right?
I think
so
you're right.
Not there yet, right?
Yeah, McLaren. He's a really good. I think we've had this conversation. Oh, actually,
we have.
Luigi. He's a really, really good number 2 driver. He's solid. He's always thinking through races. He gets the best out of his car. He gets the best position. He maximizes his position every race, unless his car lets him down. Having said that, I don't know. Even if he was in a top car, whether he'd actually be able to take it up to some of the more high-performing drivers. I don't know.
Yeah, and we had this chat. Brabham was in the same team as McLaren, and Brabham went on to win the championship twice, and McLaren was his teammate.
Yes,
and he beat Jack Brabham beat McLaren convincingly, sort of.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Okay, so my top 3. In third place, I had Stewart. Just an awesome result in his debut season, and this is the first time visiting this track for him, and he came a really strong second place on this track. He was the only guy that was on the same lap as Jim Clark.
I'm shocked.
Mm.
I'm shocked you're putting him
Wait
third.
a minute. No,
Yeah.
just wait a minute.
In second, I put Stuart. I don't care. I don't care what the rest of you will say. I was so impressed by Stuart in this race. I'll take the heat at this point in time as long as Stuart gets the points.
Oh, are you trying to manipulate the end of this, Luigi?
No, I'm not, and this is not. It's very rare that I do this, but he was so impressive on this race. I mean, this is his third race of his career, new track.
Mm.
And yes, it technically means I'm giving him more points than Clark, who I gave to first.
Yes.
He dominated.
This is so illegal.
Yeah,
so illegal.
He dominated. It's like that story you told us, Nacho, about voting, but we can't repeat that story here.
No, you can't.
So Clark dominated in wet conditions and even an engine issue. So he actually had an engine issue as well, and that couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
So just a great result by Clark.
But it was not as impressive as Clark, like why are you giving
Stuart yes.
that double points and Clark won by a mile?
I know.
To Greece.
He's given Stuart effectively 10 points, and then Clark, who apparently dominated and overcome an engine issue, only got 8 points.
It's not often that not often I get emotional, but this is an emotional pick. I admit it.
Yeah, this is 14-year-old Luigi.
Yeah.
Okay, I recognise McLaren coming in third. I think he actually came from 9th to get third. And I don't know, I can't remember whether there were a lot of retirements in this race, but I think that's a good, as we said, he's solid. He always maximises his races. And so, yeah, I gave him my third spot. I gave Stuart my second spot. He came third. New racetrack, wet weather. It was super impressive, but I couldn't go past Clark as first place. Yeah, just nothing slowed him down. It was as if he was racing in the dry and everyone else was in the wet. So, that was my picks. Any concerns with that, Luigi?
I thought they were pretty good, actually. I think think McLaren was a good pick, and maybe I should have been more open to putting McLaren in because I see everyone else had McLaren in but me, and he did do well to get third place. So, yes.
And I'm also a bit shocked because you are a McLaren fan. So,
yes.
taking out points for McLaren at this point. When it's going to probably be the only race in the entire calendar. They're going to appear, so.
Yeah. For McLaren.
Okay,
You're not as sentimental as you think, though.
What was that? Sorry, Nacho?
That he's not as sentimental as he says.
No, Luigi. No, he's not sentimental at all. He's like Enzo Ferrari.
I am a bit brutal. Yeah,
you are. Okay, so after 3 races, we have Clark on 48 points in the lead, and thanks to Luigi, we've now got Stuart in second on 38 points. Surtees is in third on 22 points, and Hill is in fourth on 20 points.
Okay, we're up to race 4, the French Grand Prix. There's 10 races this season. The French Grand Prix was run for the first time at the Circuit des Charades, which is described as a quicker, twistier version of the Nürburgring. So Clark qualified his Lotus on pole position ahead of Stewart in the BRM and Bandini in the Ferrari. Their respective team leaders, Hill and Surtees, started 13th and 4th. Except from Bandini's accident on lap 36, the race finished as it started. So Clark claimed another Grand Slam victory ahead of Stewart and Surtees, and Clark's Grand Slam followed his Grand Slam
at the South African.
At the previous, was that the previous race?
No, it was at the previous race. It was at the South African Grand Prix, wasn't it?
Yeah, but,
at the South African.
At the previous, was that the previous race?
No, it was at the previous race. It was at the South African Grand Prix, wasn't it?
To do a Grand Slam in sequential races since Alberto Ascari. And the Grand Slam is what? Pole, fastest lap, and is that lead every lap?
And a win.
And win.
And a win. Yep.
Also, not necessarily lead every lap.
No.
Okay, that's fine. So that was pretty impressive that he had 2 races of utter dominance pretty much. Hill recovered to 5th after qualifying 11th and had a big accident during the first practice session when his throttle got stuck open on his BRM and the suspension went on the car, and that sent his car spinning into a rock face on the edge of the track. So that's pretty much it for the race.
Okay.
Nacho.
Yeah, I just want to make a question before I do my picks. What happened to this racetrack? And why is Formula One not racing in Nürburgring? That would be fun, right? Or dangerous.
Yeah.
They can't make it safe. It's too big. Like it's 20 kilometers of guard. Think of all the concrete barriers. It would be awesome though. It'd have 1 million people attending. You could fit 1 million people.
It'd be so cool.
Yes,
so cool.
I know.
Anyway, back to Clark winning everything. Sorry. Okay, my third place will go to Hill. Amazing comeback drive. I think podium or even a second place would have been in the cards if he had done a better quali. So yeah, I think great drive there. Second place, Stewart. Easy second from start to finish. And of course, number 1 to Clark, breaking records. I mean, there's not much more to say that he's like an amazing driver. So number 1 to him.
Yeah. Yep. No protest from me. Sounds good.
Pretty good. Solid, Nacho, solid.
Solid. My third place I gave to Mike Lang. Now, Mike Lang is the author of the book called Grand Prix, which is one of our primary references that we use to this. And it's because of the quote he made in his book, which I made a comment in the race review where he said, this is a 40-lap race. And I'll read out straight from the book. After 40 laps, almost to the relief of the spectators, Clark received the checkered flag to win a rather dull race. So I thought that was really good that he wrote that. Now, the thing is, in previous readings of Mike Lang's books, he really looks up to Clark, but he clearly gives him a kick in the guts with this comment. So it's like he was basically accepting that it was a boring race, and therefore Mike Lang gets on the podium. And that's because I couldn't find anyone else that I really felt deserved it or did anything enough special for it.
So hang on. So Hill coming from 11th to 4th was not special after he nearly died in his practice.
Yeah, maybe he would have got 4th. where he actually finished, because Mike Lang made a really good comment. He shot down his hero.
Okay.
I am going to defend Luigi in this one because he's trying to make a boring race a bit.
Okay. Yeah, he's trying to add something.
If actually, I'll put you on the podium also.
Oh, okay.
Yay! Oh, we've never put ourselves on.
We've never put ourselves on. Yeah,
we can. There's no reason.
No, that's right. There's no rules in this.
Yeah. So
next time I join, I'm just going to put myself.
Yeah. That would be so funny if Nacho wins a world championship, a TP champion.
We've got to keep Nacho away from seasons where there's also Argentinian drivers.
Yes,
we know he's
got bias. Yes,
yeah. After the RA disaster of last time,
you are one to talk to.
What? I did the Stewart twice once. Anyway, Stewart, I had second. He came second, and he came first in my heart. And my mind gives Clark first, a dominant performance at this dull race, according to Mike Lang. We spend more time talking about other drivers, not really Clark, because when you dominate, what can you say?
Well, yeah, that's what happens, isn't it? That's the same as what's happening to Max. Well, was happening to Max before this year. Yeah. Look, I did recognise the fact that Hill nearly, like back in the day, if your car went spinning into a rock face on the edge of the track, you died. Like that was pretty much what happened, or your career ended with massive injuries. So I think I've given him third spot. It's good recovery. He didn't really qualify very well, having just gotten his life flashing through before his eyes. But he made a good recovery in the race, and he finished, what did you say, 4th, didn't he? So I gave him third.
I have to challenge this. You're really dialed in on this death and light flashing. Is this all in your imagination, or did you read this somewhere? Did he genuinely say, "I was fearful of my life"? Did he say that? Did you read that somewhere?
No, I did not.
So this is artistic freedom.
It is. Excuse me,
Okay.
Mr. Mike Lang.
Yeah, but at least I've got evidence. I've got proof of it. That's all I'm saying.
In the review, you said his car spinning into a rock face. Now, I wonder if we can actually see this on YouTube. I'm going to look it up.
Okay. You look it up after. Yeah.
I am. And then I've given Stewart second and Clark first, and I've actually put 0 comment next to them because I don't think we needed it. So there you go.
Okay. Now I'll read out this little bit from the Mike Lang book referring to the accident. Hill had a particularly anxious moment.
There you go.
When the throttle stuck open on his spare BRM, causing him to spin and hit a rock face on the edge of the track. Luckily, he escaped with no more than a strained neck, but the car was quite badly damaged. So really, that you're taking the words "a particularly anxious moment." You're really adding.
Yeah, well, Mike Lang is like he's like the master of understatement.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh, I know what interesting means.
File it, Rosa. File it.
I've got a whole freaking drawer full of your interesting comments. Okay, so after 4 races, we have Clark in the lead on 72. Stewart's closing in, though. He's on 56, and Hill is alive, but only just on 28.
He's a survivor.
He's surviving.
How does it feel to just be pushing Stewart to that TP championship knowing it's not going to happen?
Yeah, Luigi.
I'm not trying to do that.
It's futile.
Yeah.
Stewart's the one that's on the podium. Like, I don't know if you've realised he's been on the podium every race of his career so far.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't on 2 steps of the podium. Like, I don't think he's ever finished second and third.
Yeah. He could have done it, just one leg up, easy. In fact, that doesn't work that way because second and third is on either side.
You'd have to have very long legs.
It'd look awkward. It'd be a very awkward look.
If anything, Clark should get a double one because that race that he did an extra lap, he won the race twice.
That's right.
Yeah, he got the flag twice. Yeah, good point. Okay, so up to the 5th race of the season, the British Grand Prix. Clark scored another pole position ahead of Hill, BRM, and Ginther Honda. At the start, Ginther challenged Clark for the lead, but fell back to 4th and then retired on lap 26. Surtees was fighting for 3rd against Spence in the Lotus, while Clark suddenly slowed down. The Climax engine was losing oil, and Clark was coasting around the corners, and he was only using the power on the straights and killing his engine through the fast corners. So he was really nursing this car, and he was losing about 2 seconds per lap. Hill did all that he could within his power to try to catch and pass Clark. However, he was also nursing his own brake issues, so he was being hampered. So in the end, the Lotus did manage to hang on for the win, and Clark won by just 3 seconds with that on-off driving technique, and Surtees came 3rd. So over to you, Nacho.
That's an exciting race.
Yeah, a good change from last one. Number 3, Hill got the 2nd place. He, even though he was kind of racing a car that had worse issues than him, I would say. Like if you need to kind of turn off your engine or something like this, it's quite bad. He did almost win, maybe a few more laps, and he would have gotten it. So, and also like challenge, like with all the challenges he had. So yeah, Hill, 2nd place, 3rd place, epic. But my 2nd place will go to Ginther, because who has challenged Clark in any race for ever? Nobody, almost, I would say. So the fact that he was also racing at that pace with Clark until his car broke down, I think that's a worthy 2nd place. And then finally,
I normally attack it, but I'm also a big supporter of drivers that do exciting things at the start.
Yes,
because he retired on lap 27 out of 80. So
Yeah, but still, like, I mean, you're challenging the guy that is so dominant, that won the race even though his car was falling apart.
Yeah.
At least he gave him a run for his money in the first 26 laps.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm not
That'd be
disagreeing.
funny.
I'm just flagging that some people might disagree, but I'm not one of those people.
But I'm always right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, number one, Clark, for all the reasons that was explained, like having to deal with that many issues and still manage to get first.
Yeah.
That is quite impressive.
Okay, that's good. I actually had the same top three, but a slightly different order. I gave Ginther third. I think your second maybe was too generous, Nacho. So I gave him third because in the absence of any real player, I had to acknowledge Ginther for taking the lead at the start and shaking it up for that first 25 laps. But because it was not more than that, it doesn't deserve second, because I thought Hill deserved second because he was nursing his own problems and he still came second and pretty good, and he nearly took the win. He wasn't far off. So, and don't forget, in these days, they didn't have team radio, and the teams were probably wondering why are our drivers going slow. They wouldn't have known till the end of the race what they were doing, So that's impressive that Hill nearly got Clark, and Clark, amazing win, and clever for him to work out a way of fixing an engine during the race. Like, no mechanics or engineers telling you what to do. He just worked out a solution all by himself, and he managed to finish the win. So very impressive.
I'm gonna challenge your challenge to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You put Stewart third and second.
Oh, really?
So really, now from the rest of the races, your opinion now is a kind of, I'm not gonna say worthless.
But look, I'm with you. I'm with you, Nacho.
Do I have to look at
you.
previous? Do I have to look at previous TP Championship picks and see what you've done that's questionable? I'm sure there's.
No, we don't have time for that. Let's move on now. I have put Surtees third. I've gone a little bit different. I think he went from fifth to third, and he's passed Stewart doing that. So I thought that was a shout out. Like you say, Luigi, in the absence of any other players in this race, I mean, it really was the Clark Hill show. I gave Hill second spot. I think he tried his best to get Clark for the home crowd. It was at Silverstone. Oh, is this at Silverstone or is it? Well, anyway, it was a British Grand Prix.
It's at Silverstone, yeah.
So, but whether I mean, his brakes or he just couldn't get Clark this time. And Clark, in my notes, I've just said the car whisperer. Like, just unbelievable for him to think of cutting the engine so that he could last out the race. And he was able to do that because he just built up such a big lead, though. Like, he wouldn't have been able to do that in any other situation and still win. So, yeah, the car whisperer gets it.
Interesting. And, this is also Clark's home race too, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah.
I do. Okay. I do know that. That's
the crowd were also happy about Clark.
Exactly. So
it's not like they. I doubt they were booing.
No. But the crowd would have loved seeing two British drivers going at it for the win, I guess.
Yeah.
Is this where the British bias was born?
Yes, I think so. I think the British bias is being born right in this era, Nacho.
Well, yeah, but the top three are all British, and Spence came fourth. He may have been British. On Stewart was British.
Nah, I think, wasn't Spence American? I don't know. Now you have to look that up.
I have to look it up, but definitely an all British podium because Surtees is definitely British.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mike Spence. Oh, no, he's British. You're right, Luigi. He's British.
Oh, that's a British 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Wow. There you go.
British bias.
Yes. Yeah. British bias. Okay, so after race 5, we have Clark on 96. Stewart fell a little bit back this race. He's now second on 56. And Hill has caught up. He's third on 44.
Okay. We're up to race 6, the Dutch Grand Prix. So Hill and the BRM scored pole position. Clark started in second, and Ginther in Honda qualified third. So moments before the flag fell, the Lotus team owner Colin Chapman was actually involved in a brawl with the police and actually resulted in his arrest and 2-day imprisonment, which is fascinating. The race went on unhindered, and we saw Ginther take the lead. So Ginther's doing it again. On lap 5, Hill and Clark were back at the front, though, and the Lotus soon started getting ahead. Hill lost second place to his teammate Stewart and third place to Brabham driver Dan Gurney due to rev counter problems. So Clark scored his 5th win of the season ahead of Stewart, his 4th podium, and Gurney, his first podium of the year. Over to you, Nacho.
Okay, I am going to give third place to Hill, as it's becoming quite a tradition for me now. I can see that. I have nothing against Hill. third. And he should have gotten that second place. I think his drive was strong enough for that. So on number 2, I'm gonna give it to Gurmy because it's his first podium, and I'm a sucker for firsts, especially for people that will never again appear in any of.
I think it's his first podium of the year. I don't know if it's his first podium ever, though.
Okay,
yeah,
first podium of the year. Yeah. I mean, it's a change, right?
Yeah.
Like Clark is now in the TP Championship, winning by double the points from the second. So I'm just gonna make it even bigger now by also giving Clark number 1. Like,
yeah,
the winning streak, it's insane. Like, it's insane. Like, it's interesting because as an F1 fan, when you're seeing this kind of winning streaks, and you're forced to try to look at F1 differently, not like, okay, who's winning? And that's happened like when I've been watching with now Max dominating for the last 2 years, right? Like, you're like, okay, I wasn't even looking at who was going first. It's like, okay, what's happening in the mid pack? What are the small stories that are happening outside of the podium? Because like, just watching the same guy win over and over again with such a big lead, it's you need to find out other ways, and it opens up for the other aspects of F1 that are really interesting. So thank you, Clark, for making everything boring, I guess.
I agree. And it's also funny because a lot of the narrative, with people watching Formula One currently is, it's so boring. Formula One has changed so much now. We've got teams dominating, but it's always happened. Like, it's always happened throughout the history of Formula One. We've always had Alphas dominated in the first 3 years. Then we had Mercedes dominate for the next 2 years. And then we had, you know what I mean? So it's funny to hear some of the narrative when Max has been dominating and, Formula One's changed. Where's all the close racing gone? That's really not the history of Formula One.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's only been a very small periods within its history where the championship could have been won by any team or, a number of teams. Usually it is, the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher dominated for how many years there? 6 years? 5, 6 years?
5 championships in a row.
Yeah. So it's happened throughout its history, but all we tend to hear is, Red Bull's dominating, Adrian Newey, I don't know. It's
Yeah. Okay. My picks?
Yes.
Okay, I had Gurney third, and my comment was just Gurney's always up there, and he's now starting to show his presence of being up there. And Gurney, he's driving the Brabham, so he's a really good Brabham driver, and we even talk about in the race review that he shouldn't have left Brabham at the end of this season. I had Clark as second for a dominant win, so well done, Clark. And I had Stewart in first.
You have given the winner.
For trying to chase down Clark, and good on him in his rookie season to chase down a driver he massively looked up to. Like, Stewart really, really looked up to Clark. So he gave it his best, and I think he deserved to be given number 1 rank.
Well, to the point, Luigi, that he was actually offered a drive with Lotus as Clark's teammate for this year, and he turned it down. Remember, because he didn't want to be compared to that level of champion, and he wanted a season where he could learn his craft outside. So he chose Hill.
Yeah, that's a big disrespect, isn't it?
It is. Oh, I don't know. You've given the guy who's dominated the win second.
Yes.
I'm now calling the auditors in. I think you're manipulating the results of this so that your childhood hero wins a TP championship.
There's no way he's going to win this TV championship. This is just how I felt when I read the story. I thought, Clark's really going. Stewart's really going for it. It's really impressive in his debut season, and he's not that many seconds behind Clark in the end. He's only about 7 seconds, 8 seconds behind.
That's pretty close for a win for a second on Clark. Okay, well, I've also given my third spot to Gurney. Good finish in the end and good first podium for the year. Again, always up there, Gurney. Very, very good driver. I've given Stewart second spot for a classy finish. And Clark, just no contest.
Yeah.
What more
I've got no
say?
protest. I know Stewart. I mean, I'm surprised that Nacho didn't give Stewart any points, but
I need to balance it out, right?
Yeah.
I'm not always going to do this. This is like, this is meant to be subjective opinions.
It is. It is.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't know your picks before this.
No.
So.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I could see you picking Stewart for 1, 2, 3 for the next 3 races after what you've done. So I wouldn't be surprised. And you know what? Now I would respect it.
Okay.
Oh, now you would respect it.
Okay, so after race 6, we have Clark in the lead on 118, Stewart second on 70. So you've got a bit of work to do there, Luigi, and Hill on 48 points in third place. We might leave it there, actually, Louis. I think we might come back and finish this season. It's getting a little bit interesting, and we're chatting a lot. So we'll do the second part next time.
Okay, see you all next week, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
We have a Patreon.
Yay, we're a professional podcast now. So it means a lot to us if you are able to support the F1 Time Portal podcast.
For a small monthly fee, you not only get ad-free podcast content, you will also receive special episodes that are exclusively uploaded for our Patreon financial supporters.
We promise at least 2 additional exclusive episodes each month aligned to the decade we are up to in the show.
And you will also be able to make suggestions about any special episodes you may want us to research and present. We can't promise that we can do all of them, but we will consider them.
So, if that sounds like an entertainment bargain to you, go and sign up at patreon.com/F1 Time Portal today.
If you're enjoying our podcast, please tell your friends and non-F1 friends alike.
Yeah, and don't forget to rate us 5 stars or whatever highest is available on the podcast platform that you use.
We have a range of social media handles for you to connect with fellow listeners, so look up F1 Time Portal on all the usual platforms.
Or visit us at www.f1timeportal.com or email us at f1timeportal@gmail.com.
We would like to give credit to our primary reference materials, a series of books called Grand Prix by Mike Lang.
We also use many other written and digital references, which are in our show notes.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.